Okay, we will continue with the case studies. Two more case studies are left out from yesterday's session from 2018. Now, these two are very simple, direct, straightforward. So, one doctor is leading he's a very leading medical practitioner in a city, and he set up a charitable trust through which he plans to establish a super specialty hospital in the city to cater to the medical needs of all sections of the society. So he's setting up a charitable society, and under that, a super specialty hospital to take care of all sections of the society. Incidentally, that part of the state had been neglected over the years. So that is going to be a good thing for that region and the public in that area at any cost. Okay, the proposed hospital would be a boon for the region. Now, let's see what is the situation. You are heading the tax investigation agency of that region. So you're the IT officer. During an inspection of the doctor's clinic, your officers have found out some major irregularities. Some major irregularities. This is how you need to read. You have to underline the keywords, and that has to be captured in your answer. A few of them are substantial, which have resulted in considerable withholding of tax that should be paid by him now. The doctor is cooperative. Okay, he undertake to pay the tax immediately. So he is ready to pay the tax immediately. So the tax department is not having much difficulty. There is not appeal, no case which is going to be given by the doctor. There is no delay also. He's ready to pay the tax immediately. However, there are certain other deficiencies in his tax compliance which are purely technical in nature. So some technical issues are there. If these technical defaults are pursued by the agency, considerable time and energy of the doctor will be diverted. So another question will be whether you want to go with this technical aspect or not. Will be diverted to issues which are not so serious. Okay, urgent or even helpful to the tax collection process. So this is of not that important, this technical issues. Further, in all probability, it will hamper the prospectus of the hospital which is coming up. Now, see, this is a question here. I think this is an ethical dilemma. If you are pursuing this, technical issue, then that is of not that much importance. That is not that serious. It may affect the hospital also. So you might need to take a decision. Now, there are two options before you. So they are giving you the option: taking a broader view, ensure substantial tax compliance, and ignore defaults that are merely technical in nature. Okay, so you can ignore that technical defaults, and whatever the substantial tax compliance is there, that you can go with. Pursue the matter strictly and proceed in all fronts, whether substantial or merely technical. Now, what option that you are going to take? Now, this is very, if you want to go with a deontology, you may say this. You may need to go with both deontology as well as utilitarian. I'll tell you how this can be deontology as well as utilitarian. uh, may not be deontological. Mostly you will say it is utilitarian. It may do good for the people, but you are compromising somewhere. But you can also make it as deontological by writing in very good and appropriate way. In that context, basically what I'll do is I'll go with this option. Okay, so again, it is up to you whether you want to go with purely, legal, purely the procedure. I've told you many times you have to go with the procedure and everything, but still keeping this option in mind, what I'm focusing is I'm focusing on the larger public. And that area you can see here, this is actually neglected for long, right? So this area has been neglected for long, and this is going to be a big thing for that region. And it's a hospital which is going to serve all the sections of the society under the charitable trust. So if you are following this approach, you're completely, it is said already clearly that in all probability this is going to hamper. And you don't want to do this. If you remember yesterday also, even in that chemical company, we have discussed the same context, right? Here in this case also, I've told you, you can make some modifications and you can go accordingly. So in the case of hospital, you have to definitely take that chance, because this is at the larger public interest, and that is very important for us. Or you can say for the society, you need to take an action. So what you need to do here is, Okay, obviously, who are the stakeholders involved here? The doctor and the doctor's trust, the hospital, the region, okay, and all the sections of society who's going to get benefited out of it. Obviously, you will be part of this, and the state will be part of this. You are representing the state, okay. So these are the main stakeholders. Now you need to answer by keeping in mind all the dimensions of different stakeholders. Okay, now the question is this: whether you have to treat the substantial defaults or the technical defaults as same or different. So that is actually the question. So which approach is better here? It is no doubt for any one of you that we will go with the first option, but how can you convince? Now the question is how you are going to convince this, because the first thing that you need to see is this is going to get, the hospital is going to get affected and it is going to hamper the project. So that is one thing which you need to keep in mind when you are going to give this answer, because this will support you. That is for the larger public, and that area is neglected and all the sections are going to get benefit. So if you're going with this approach, this is going to take too much of time and it is going to affect the region. And see, region, one region is affected, that society will be totally affected. And see, region is benefiting means society is benefiting, and ultimately the country is benefiting. So keeping this larger perspective in mind, you will go with this option. Secondly, the reason why you are going for this is, see, it is not the case that you are an officer and in all case you need to go with the procedure. In most of the cases, you are dealing with the public and you are dealing with different situations. All the civil servants have some level of discretion. Okay, now here in the question itself, they are talking about that option which is available to you. So sometimes you need to take decisions and you need to exercise your discretion in that situation. Keeping proper records and properly documented, you have to exercise your discretion why you have done this. So in this situation, you should be in a position to exercise your discretion for the larger public interest, not for your interest. You are not going to get anything out of it. So your action is justified because you are not getting any benefit and you are doing it for the public interest. So you are using that discretion and you can condone this technical defaults. That is of not that serious in nature, and that is also not going to help the tax authorities, you know, in any way. It is given here. Okay, these are not serious, not urgent, not even helpful to the tax collection process. So you can ignore that technical issue, right? And also, it is also given here that the doctor is cooperative and he is ready to pay it immediately. So he is ready to pay the tax immediately and he is cooperative. So that also you can take into consideration. And it is not that you are allowing him not to pay tax. You are allowing him for what? Since he is showing that cooperation, that he is not going to court or he is not going to challenge the decision of the officer. Okay. So he is ready to pay the tax. You can condone this technical issue because nobody is going to get benefit out of it. It is of not serious nature also, and this project is also may get hampered. So in that context, you can go with this option. You can ignore that technical defaults, and you can go with the you can allow him to pay tax, and at the same time you are not making any loss to the government. You are collecting the tax. So when you see that when you are saying that you are collecting the tax, then you are a responsible income tax officer. So the tax is getting collected and the state is getting benefit, government is getting benefit, government recover the tax without any litigation or anything, and the area which is neglected for years is going to get benefit out of this. Okay, so in this context, in my opinion, the best one is this one. Now see, there will be difference of opinion. Some people will say that you have to stick to the duty, you have to stick to the procedure. But in this context, keeping the larger public interest, at the same time the discretion which is given to the the civil servant, generally income tax officers have so much of discretions also. Okay, so keeping all those things in mind, this is better because my reasons are this. Firstly, you are not making any loss to the government. Secondly, for the larger public interest, the neglected area is getting a good hospital, and he's a very expert doctor. So his service will be good for the public. So in that context, you will go with the first option. Anything you want to add there? Now see, here you have nothing to add because they have given you two options. So if you are sticking to the second option, you are ignoring the teleology or the utilitarian aspect. You are only thinking about, yeah, deontology that we have discussed, and that is correct only. Following the rules, following the duty, procedure, everything is correct. You can strictly follow that duty. But there are some larger public interest, and that is ultimately not your goal. What is the goal of a civil servant? It is a benefit for the public, right? So you have to ensure better life for the public, right? So that is the larger goal. So in that context, it is better to go for first option. Now see, second one, this is related to whistleblowing.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, is there any scope of adding the deontological perspective into that?
No, deontological perspective, see the second one, if you are going, that is purely deontological. First one, it is mix of deontology and utilitarianism, because you are following the rules, but you are using the discretion also. It is not that you are not following the rule. You are taking the tax, you are collecting the tax, and you are doing everything. Exception is what? You might have getting some discretion in this kind of situation, and that has been given in the question. So you are using the discretion by following the rule. So there is a deontology element. At the same time, you are thinking about the larger public and greatest happiness for the greatest people. So that is, as per utilitarianism also, it is correct. So from both ethical perspective, that is correct, and that is the reason why I'm going for the first one. And also, yeah, we can make people
Sir,
aware about the.
can we take like can you make any undertaking from that doctor, from that hospital, that are going to solve these technical issues with some
Yes,
time
yes, yes,
period, so
yes,
that
yes. Yeah,
the process or the
these
progress of the hospital will?
yes, by these are suggestions, and that you can write. I'm not talking about all those things. That is up to you. You can write that. You can even say that you can allow the doctor now to do this, and you can say that you will put the doctor in the blacklist. So in case if he's repeating the same, and if you are putting him in the blacklist, it is easy for the tax authorities to monitor him. In case if he's making any further problems in the future, that can be checked very easily, and further problems will not be compromised. And you can make the people also aware about. That is some general answer, that is general point somebody was writing here. You can make the people aware about the tax compliance and laws and all these things. Undertakings, obviously you can do that. So these are suggestions. Even this also, you can put the doctor under the radar of the officials, so that the officials can keep a check on the doctor whether this kind of tax evasion is happening in the future, or this charitable trust has something to do with tax evasion, okay, or money laundering, anything. You can write that, no issue with that. But at this point of time, keeping the larger public interest, which one is better is what I've told you. The first option is anyway better, because from the both perspective, utilitarianism as well as deontology, it satisfy my interest. Okay, so the next one, we have discussed about this concept already. This is related to whistleblowing. So Snowden, the computer expert from former CIA administrator, released confidential government documents to the press about the existence of government surveillance programs. According to many legal experts and the US government, his action violated the Espionage Act of 1971, which identified the leak of state secret as an act of treason. So you see, this is clearly an act of treason according to the law which is present there. But I hope you remember that I've discussed this point before, and I've compared it with Mahatma Gandhi also. Whatever is legal is not necessarily ethical, right? We'll come back. Yet, despite the fact that he broke the law, Snowden argued that he had a moral obligation to act. You remember the statement when, after the non-cooperation movement, when Mahatma Gandhi was presented in front of the magistrate, he also made the statement that what in law looks, what is that statement? I don't remember exactly in the same words. What in law looks illegal is the highest moral responsibility to me as a citizen of the country. So that, see, he is violating laws, right? So during civil disobedience movement also is violating the law. So what he says is, if the law is democratic and if the law is just, you have to follow the law. If the law is undemocratic and is against the people, then you should violate the law. There is no question of here also. This is actually, people's, surveillance program and entering into the privacy of the people. That is not a democratic, or that's not a just law. Okay, let's go further. He gave justification for his whistleblowing, though this is a case related to whistleblowing, by stating that he had a duty to inform the public. So this is his duty. So this is same sentence that Mahatma Gandhi also said, right? It is my duty, what in law is looking like illegal, but it is my highest responsibility, moral responsibility or duty as a citizen of the country, as to which is done in there. What is that? Against them. Okay, it is his duty, is saying that. According to Snowden, the government violation of privacy had to be exposed regardless of legality. So he don't care about the legal aspect, but this violation of privacy, see, privacy is something which is very important for every individual. That is a human right, that is a fundamental right. So since more substantive issues of social action and public morality were involved here, many agreed with Snowden. Okay, so the society is agreeing with Snowden, but the law is against that. Few argued that he broke the law and compromised national security, for which he should be held accountable. So it's very crystal clear that he broke the law, but he has shown that moral responsibility to expose that by blowing the whistle. Okay, it's what the state is doing is injustice. Now, the question is, do you agree with Snowden's action were ethically justified, even if legally prohibited? So something which is legally prohibited, do you agree with it? Why or why not? If you agree, why? If you don't agree, why you're not agreeing? Make an argument by weighing the competing values in this case. Okay, so now the way I have read, if you read this like that, you will take a lot of time, but you should be reading, keeping all these things in mind, and your answer will also have to capture. So what you understood from here is, this is something which is illegal. That is crystal clear under this act. But what he's saying is, it is moral. Now the question is, we have discussed this, whatever is ethical is not necessarily legal. So what is this region? His action will come where? Here. It is not legal, but he's saying it is ethical, right? So when Mahatma Gandhi also violated, or when he went for civil disobedience movement, what he did? He violated the law, right? Okay, even if you see Champaran Satyagraha, he asked the people not to pay tax. So not paying tax is violation of law. Okay, and during civil disobedience movement also, Dandi March also, he's violating law, but he's saying that is ethical, because the law is not democratic, the law is unjust, so there is no point in following the law. Now here what will come? I think I have given you example of spa. If you see the blanket protection which is given to the officials, okay, they can kill anyone and they are misusing that, right? So it is legal, but is that ethical? Those kinds of power which is given to the army? No, right? Marital rape also we have discussed. It is legal, but not ethical, right? So many countries have made it punishable, but in India it's not yet done. And I've told you, Justice Verma committee also recommended for the same. More than 90 countries did that. Now here, what is going to be the answer? I hope this answer is clear to you now. See, if the state is following proper laws, and if the state is, if the law is democratic, and most of the countries, if you see this is a draconian law, this kind of law, and it is totally affecting, when you are keeping surveillance on the public, means what? It is affecting the larger, public interest, and why you are unnecessarily interfering the private life of the individual? It is not required. So that is against privacy. So most of the countries are going away with this draconian law, but still you are keeping that, means it is not ethical. So from the state side, it is not ethical. Okay, it is not for it is basically people's personal life they are surveillance is going on, and that is have nothing to do with the national security. So this, they are claiming that it is for national security and all, is just an exaggeration. You don't want to interfere into the personal life of people, everybody. That's not required. So in that context, this act of whistleblowing is justified because you will make the public aware that this is actually happening, right? That is one way you can write the answer. Then this point also you need to write. So this is the main point, public interest. In the public interest, you need to do this. Secondly, what we have discussed, some laws, this law, for example, is not ethical. So you have to follow that ethical principles also. And if the law is not democratic, you have to talk against that. So at the same time, you will be in a position to take the responsibility of that. You should be able to take the consequences of that also. But he's doing that. It is his moral duty for him. Exactly, you can quote Mahatma Gandhi also. You can quote civil disobedience movement, etc. that we have discussed. It's a part of, this act is morally correct. And he's not going to, is he going to get any benefit out of it? He's not going to get any personal advantage because of leaking this data, right? Since he is not getting any benefit, it is purely for the larger public interest. In that context, this act is ethically justified. The question here is not, obviously they are saying that it is illegal, crystal clear from the question itself. The question was asked to you is whether it is ethically justified. If you are saying that this is not justified, then you're also saying that Mahatma Gandhi's action during the civil disobedience movement is also not justified. So I don't want you to go with that. So I hope you understood the point here. You will be saying that ethically it is justified, because this kind of law interfering in the people's life in the name of national security is not necessarily correct. And also this, what are the determinants of ethics? It all depends on the action, the situation, the circumstances, and everything. In this circumstance, in this situation, what he did is ethically correct. So even though it is legally not correct, if he is ready to take these consequences, it is ethically justified at any point of time. Okay. So when we talk about larger public interest, you can talk about utilitarian principle. This is going to do good for maximum people, greatest happiness for greatest number of people, or for the larger public interest. Teleological approach, this is good. And the law is unethical, right? So what will happen if you don't blow the whistle, and if you know this and you keep silence? The surveillance will continue, and that is a violation of the social ethics and the individual's privacy. The privacy is violated, and state is not doing a just act, right? Now, if you blow the whistle while doing this, what will happen? It is larger public interest is served. Social justice also. It may be illegal under this, but it is definitely ethical. And you can substantiate your answer with this guy, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay. And you can also draw that. This you can draw. I'm sure that in one ethics paper, you will get one question where you can draw the situation. You may put in a situation something which is legal, but not ethical. What is better? Maximum overlap should be there. Okay, this is the best situation, but that won't necessarily happen. There may be some exceptions.